Chris, let me start with the NCAA tournament here. We've talked about some of the NBA talent, the Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, Tatum at Duke. If you were going to give us maybe your top 5, top 10 to keep an eye on who will be playing first-round picks next year, give us some other names as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you get past, those surefire top 5 guys, and, there might be some maneuvering in that top 5, but not much. Most of the NBA people I talk to are kind of locked in on those mid to late first-round picks. I'll throw a couple of names at you, Dan. Justin Patton over at Creighton is generating a lot of interest. He's a 7-footer who's got those kind of guard skills, came really out of nowhere this year, lightly recruited out of high school. He redshirted his freshman season. Scouts I've talked to want to see him play against Oregon, maybe even Louisville later on. So there's one. Harry Giles at Duke. I mean, the focus is on Tatum, of course, but Giles has been kind of a major disappointment for much of this season. He started to show flashes in that ACC tournament. He has a chance to rebound from a guy that, really started off this season as almost a surefire lottery pick, and now he's kind of in the 20s. He can really improve his draft stock with a strong tournament. And another name that comes up a lot is Jonathan Motley out at Baylor. Ton of skill, all the physical tools you can dream of. He'll do really well at the combine and the testing, but he's sloppy. He doesn't rebound particularly well. If Baylor wins a few games, he's going to have a great chance to improve his stock.
Right, the Lonzo Ball story, I mentioned that the most popular name going into the tournament is actually the dad of a popular player. But is his dad helping or hurting, or is there any impact on his dad, and what could happen once he gets into the NBA or starts negotiating with a team?
His dad's having zero impact whatsoever. I've asked this question to multiple executives, and I've even talked to our own front office insider at the Vertical, Bobby Marks, who was, of course, an assistant GM in Brooklyn. And, they all say it's not an issue whatsoever. I mean, there's no indication that the dad is having a negative effect on the son. The dad just seems to like to say stuff, and Lonzo seems to kind of go along with the flow. Now, I'm sure he could give executive headaches down the line if he starts publicly complaining about playing time or position. I'm telling you, Dan, the dream for me as, kind of a reporter and a columnist is to see Lonzo Ball wind up in New York and see what happens if they try to shove him into the triangle. And, a player that has no business whatsoever or is completely undermining his skills by playing the triangle. How does Lonzo Ball factor into that? But as far as negatively affecting his stock, there are so many other variables like, shady characters in their lives, own lifestyle habits. Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball, his father, has no impact whatsoever on his draft stock.
If the draft was today, would it matter who had the number 1 pick as to who they would be taking?
I don't think so. I've done kind of a straw poll on this, and I've heard a few GMs say they're interested to see what Josh Jackson looks like in the tournament. And if you absolutely have a point guard that you can, build around, maybe you lean towards a Josh Jackson. But there is so much anticipation and so much belief in what Markelle Fultz can do at Washington. And similarly, if Lonzo Ball makes a run to the Final Four, he might be able to leapfrog Fultz just because Fultz isn't playing, and you might be able to keep that memory fresh. These two guys, Dan, they are transcendent types of talents. You'd be hard-pressed to find too many people in the NBA that don't believe both these guys are going to turn into 10-year all-stars, all-NBA-type point guards. Both play different ways, but both these guys have a real chance to be special.
The Lakers are tanking now officially?
Yeah, and you know what? The NBA, if the NBA doesn't come down on them, they should shut up about everything else, about Philadelphia, about any of these other teams that do it. The Lakers are brazenly tanking. And I know Timothy Mozgov has been an afterthought for most of this season, but for most of the first half of the year, Luol Deng was a starter, and he averaged about 26 minutes per game, 7.5 points. He wasn't a great player, but he was contributing. And these two guys combined make $136 million in total salary. And you're just going to say you're shutting them down? This is after you basically gave away Lou Williams for nothing. I'm not saying, Dan, I don't agree with the strategy. They need to keep that top 3 pick. But this is a flagship franchise, a franchise that, by the way, 2 years ago voted voted for lottery reform. So they wanted to see this kind of stuff not happen. If the NBA doesn't come down or at least have something to say about them, they cannot say anything about any of these other teams doing it.
Explain the Lakers draft situation.
Well, if they get inside the top 3, they keep their pick. If it falls outside the top 3, it goes to Philadelphia. So enormous motivation for the Lakers to be god-awful and fall inside that top 3.
So this is a must-tank situation, right?
More or less, because, I mean, you go into next season and think about it. It's Ball, Fultz, Josh Jackson / Jason Tatum. One of those guys is likely to be a franchise-type player. You have them, you've got the foundation for something. You don't, and you are still crossing your fingers and hoping that Brandon Ingram develops, and you're still crossing your fingers and hoping that the Pacers may take some combination of D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle, and future draft picks in exchange for Paul George.
He's Chris Mannix, Yahoo's The Vertical. You said last year you guaranteed it would not happen, Mayweather and McGregor. Dana White thinks it's going to happen. That doesn't mean it will, but he does think it is going to happen. Do you want to change your opinion on this?
No, I don't, because I feel like everyone is playing Charlie Brown to their Lucy there. And they're using this platform to promote their fighters and to promote their own brand. I mean, Mayweather said, first of all, Mayweather said he's coming out of retirement. There's no retirement papers in boxing. You don't come out of retirement or have to announce that. He's on this undefeated tour in Europe. Who cares? I mean, why is he doing an undefeated tour right now? He is using this to build up the TMT brand and make himself keep himself relevant in the sport. I check in semi-regularly, Dan, with 2 sources that would have direct knowledge of this, and neither one of these sources has told me anything that makes me think it's at all close right now. These 2 sides, they are so far apart on what they want. And the bottom line with this, Dan, is that if you make a deal like this and you have to put up, say, conservatively, $150 million in guarantees, somebody's going to have to guarantee that. And in the case of Mayweather-Pacquiao, that was one thing. We all knew that fight was going to do an enormous number. When Mayweather-McGregor, if it's made, and I'm still skeptical, but if it's made, it is going to be the most negative. There's going to be so much negative backlash because this fight is a total joke. You've got Mayweather, the greatest boxer in the world, and McGregor, who doesn't box. Look, it's hyperbole maybe, but I think Conor McGregor's got a better chance of beating Michael Phelps in a pool than he does Mayweather in a boxing ring. That's how different these sports are and how little chance I give Conor McGregor. And everybody in the industry, Dan, is going to agree with me on this, and it's going to make the negative, it's going to make the PR tour, the publicity tour, so negative and so cartoonish that they will never be able to recoup that money they put up.
Skip Bayless just said that's a hot take right there. Well done.
Hey,
well done.
Trying, Dan.
Well.
Just for you.
Yeah, well done. If this fight does happen, you have to come in and spin the wheel of punishment. I think that's only.
Oh,
fair.
no. I'm not on your staff there, Dan. That's not. I'm not playing that game. I see your wheel of punishment. I don't. I'm not shaving my head or my eyebrow or.
Okay, how about this? How about this? A pie to the face.
Oh, I'd take a pie to the face.
All right, fair enough. And,
now, apparently not from Fritzy's wife, but I'll take a pie to the face.
And you have to break up with Ricky Rubio.
No, I mean I'm glad you brought him up because.
Well, if I didn't, you were going to.
I've got his numbers right in front of me. The month of March, he's shooting 43% from 3. Look at that number, Dan. We need to start rethinking the MVP conversation. Minnesota is rising. Minnesota is rising in the standings.
Yeah, it's about time. By the way, why do they keep trading this guy who is so good and improved so much? He was going to get traded a couple of times this year.
Whoa. Going to get traded and getting traded are 2 different things.
They couldn't find anybody who wanted the little guy.
He is going to become as iconic to the Wolves as Kevin Garnett was. MVP.
Hallmark
vote's
has to create some cards with you and Rubio, just you and Rubio in mind, that you can send to him every month. You know, when you see his performance, he has played well. I give you credit. He's played well and had
17 points, 12 assists, 43% from the floor. While this team is rising in the Western Conference standings, they get into the playoffs. Top 5 MVP.
Would you take him over Russell Westbrook or James Harden right now?
No.
Okay, good.
That was painful.
Yeah, I know.
That was real painful.
All right, Chris, we look forward to smashing you in the face with a pie.
All right, Dan.
All right, that's Chris Mannix, Yahoo's The Vertical. So Conor McGregor has a better chance of beating Michael Phelps in a swimming contest than he would Floyd Mayweather. I'm going to say he has a better chance with Floyd Mayweather than he does Michael Phelps. I don't even know if Conor McGregor can swim. But it just feels like there's so much money involved in this. Whether you like it or not, you know, it just feels like it's going to happen because there's so much money attached to this.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.